Oh, good. I wasn't filming anyway. Great.
Is it really how everybody mistakes your weirdness for coolness?
Hello, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Natalie Megan. This is Weirdo Book Club, and today we're going back up the mountain. Yes, that's right, folks. For more of the Men of Fox Hollow series. I am trucking along through this, and it helps that all of these are like under 50 pages, which I know what you're thinking. You're like, how can a person possibly talk for an hour about a 50-page short story / novella? I can talk about anything for an exuberant amount of time. It's one of my greatest talents / personality deficits. And believe me, there's plenty to discuss in here. We'll get into it. If you've seen the first two videos, then you know there's plenty to discuss. There's fun to be had, which is another reason why I'm doing these. They're a little lighter, a little easier to digest. They don't have me by the end of it like feeling like heart palpitations, wanting to put my head through stone-built things. You know, it's just a silly, goofy little time that we're having with these books. And like I said, I already own all of them, so I might as well read and review them for you. I've also made the choice to be very comfy today. This is just the life I'm trying to live. I'm trying to manifest that future for myself. And thanks to today's sponsor, Parade, I feel like I'm making headway. Parade is a size-inclusive, women-owned, sustainable intimates brand that has everything you could possibly need, from bras, bralettes, underwear, to pajamas, apparel, and a little lingerie. I love working with Parade. Every single piece they send me is like my new favorite thing. I've been living in this. Well, when my husband doesn't steal the bottoms from me, I've been living in this set for days now. I've washed it, calm down. So this is the Poplin oversized long sleeve button down shirt, and I paired it with the Poplin wide leg lounge pants. I wear a large in their stuff usually, and this is oversized, so I just stuck with it because I wanted it to be bigger. But I will say that you might want to size down a little bit just because the pants, let me show you. They're rolled like 3 times, but I'm also short, so you know, take that as you will. It's got this really cool pocket, then it has pockets here. It's big pockets, and then it also has pockets here, and I love that. And sometimes I need my hands, and I love options. I also got the Poplin triangle bralette to wear under this. I am just really feeling myself in this little set, honestly. The fabric is super breathable. I love this big band at the bottom, and it also has these little mesh panels at the back. And like I said, I've been living in this set. It's so comfortable. Cannot recommend this set enough. I am live, laugh, loving to the best of my ability in it. Use my code WEIRDO30 at checkout to get 30% off your entire purchase, excluding sale items and items from the Betsy Johnson collection. If they make this in different patterns, I will be purchasing it with my own money. Just let that sink in. I don't know if that means anything to you. It means a lot to me. I like to hold on to my money, but I also like cuteness and comfort, and this does both. Thanks again to Parade for sponsoring this video, and now let's head up that mountain. Those virgin burly men aren't gonna do themselves. Hello from the void, editing me here. I'm working on my stuff behind the scenes, and I realized I didn't put my disclaimers in. This review will contain spoilers, opinions, general shit talking. If that doesn't sound interesting to you, don't stay. It does no favors for either of us. This review is also not for the author or friends of the author, diehard fans of the author. It's just, you know, we're not going to agree on a lot of things. And if you don't know how to act when other people that you don't know on the internet don't agree with you, you shouldn't be here. And you definitely shouldn't watch it if you are the author or a friend of the author. And you definitely shouldn't tell me if you do. Anyway, that's my disclaimers. Back to it. Okay, so we're going up the mountain for book 3, which is Soul of the Mountain. Book 1 was Heart of the Mountain. Book 2, Protector of the Mountain. Now, book 1, we met James and Marcy. She was like a captive of the Wild Ride Hog motorcycle gang or whatever. I don't remember what it was called. And his dad, secretly unbeknownst to Marcy when she is found by James, his dad is the leader of that whole crew, and when he finds Marcy wet and freezing in the rain in the woods, she is cradling a newborn baby that does not belong to her. It belonged to her now deceased sister Amy, who was also a captive of this motorcycle whatever. Marcy is a virgin. James is also a virgin. And now that he has this hot piece of ass in his cabin, he picks up the phone, dials the police, and reports his father and his wrongdoings to the fuzz. Because, you know, there's no reason to do a good job unless getting laid is the reward, right? So they have sex. It's wonderful. They fall in love, and they have a whole gaggle of rugrats in the epilogue. Now, in book 2, Protector of the Mountain, we meet Reed, who's also a virgin. and he meets Rainey in a bar on the eve of her 21st birthday. And he's like, can I buy you a drink? And he's like, can I? To her brother Tim, who's a drug lord who has her under his thumb. And he's like, sure, Cinderella, but you gotta come back before midnight. I don't know. And then she's like, actually, Reed, I don't want to drink. I want to go dance in the rain. Let's get out of here. So they get out of here. They go back to his cabin, which is apparently palatial. And they dance in the rain and they have phenomenal sex, even though they're both virgins. And then she leaves forever, it seems, except she's pregnant and she has to come back and she gets stuck in the woods. They airlift her to the hospital. She doesn't remember who she is. She's in a coma. But then she starts having labor and she just out of the coma. And I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I left like that. I love you. And they love each other. And she has their baby, which is a daughter, even though the synopsis said it was a son. And they name it Rainbow, which is terrible. And you should go to jail immediately. Not for the drug charges. You were a child when you were roped into all that. But you should go for naming your child Rainbow. And your name being Rainy. This just, what are we doing? Also, note, I didn't note this last time because I think I just was done. I think I was done. But the synopsis not only says that they have a son when they have a daughter, but it says that Reed finds out that he has a son because he's left on his doorstep with a note and now he has to track down Rainey. But that doesn't happen in the book. So I wanted to just run through that real quick because who knows what we're in for in book 3, which is called Soul of the Mountain. Yeah. So again, it's like less than 50 pages. All this is available on Kindle Unlimited if you want to read along with me. If you have Kindle Unlimited, whatever. I don't know. I can't tell you what to do. Let's get to the synopsis though. A blue-eyed beauty lost and alone. 2 young children in her arms. Oh dear. I'm a mountain man. It just doesn't, it never settles, you know, you just never get used to it. I'm a mountain man who's always lived alone. When I see a tragic accident on the highway, I have a chance to change things. But not everyone agrees that my cabin should be their home. I'm in the future and I've read it and I'm trying to understand and recall what the hell he's talking about here, especially because now I'm wary of any synopsis because it doesn't seem like anything matches up to the story that we eventually get. It's time to man up and be what they need because they are more than my heart. They are my soul. They are my soul and they belong on this mountain. Okay, note from author, dear readers, Jasper. Okay, so if you haven't watched the first 2 videos, you probably should. They're just an hour long and it'll be a good time for you. Jasper was a character we met in book 2, Protector of the Mountain, who was like the popular jock in high school that Reed was best friends with. He was polar opposite of. He's a ladies' man. Reed was just a virgin who couldn't drive and or leave the house because he had a sick mother he was taking care of. It's very tragic. But anyway, I told you because they kept saying stuff like, you just wait, Jasper, till you find the woman you love. And Jasper was like, I'm not getting tied down to no woman. And I was like, bet he's in the next book. Jasper is a mechanic with an old soul. Juliet is a nanny with a vintage heart. I don't know what that means. A vintage heart. We just pulled a thesaurus out and looked up other words for old. I can't cry right now. Actually, I can. I'm not wearing any makeup, so this is the perfect time for me to just weep, which is good. Will you hold my hand while I do? I didn't read this before I copy and pasted it into the script, so let me start again. Dear readers, Jasper is a mechanic with an old soul. Juliet is a nanny with a vintage heart. I hope she got it on sale. He's gonna give her a tune-up she didn't see coming, and she'll return the favor with an oil change that'll blow his mind. I want you imprisoned. These two are made for each other, and this dirty little love story is meant to be. Whatever you say, buddy. Oh my God. Okay. All right. Whew. So Jasper the Mechanic, chapter 1. He is seen signing a lease for a brand new motor shop. I don't know. I'm not a mechanic. I don't know. I don't even have a car right now. It's at the mechanics, ironically. I wonder if Jasper's there and he'll give it a tune-up. God, I hope not. So he's signing this lease for a shop, 2 shops in 2 years. And it seems from reading that they're very close to one another, which I guess makes sense for you to be able to like go back and forth and make sure that things are running smoothly. But I don't know why you wouldn't like hop over one town. I don't know. Who cares? So anyway, he's signing his lease. And you know what? Honestly, I'm just glad he's not a carpenter. Maybe this one's not Jesus, because I don't think he's a virgin either. We've gone awry. But you know what? My luck, he'll probably be a mechanic by day, but his true passion that comes alive in the night is like building birdhouses with his bare hands. I don't know, whittling something. Wood will come up in more ways than one. That's my bet. That's my guess. We learned a little bit about Jasper in the last book. So we know that he was like Mr. Popular Ladies Man in high school, which, you know, who doesn't love a man who peaks in high school? And we also know that he lives on the mountain near James and Reed and his dad, who's like, you know, getting a little older and his health is going down. And you know, so we know that he's kind of doing that. He's a mechanic. Stubborn, you know, just that's the groundwork we have for this man. And so when he gets back into his car, he calls his dad, and his dad's like, hey, I need your help fixing something tomorrow. And Jasper's like, well, I'm an hour away. I can be there in an hour. And he's like, no, it'll be fine. I'll survive the night. You just do whatever you need to do. Don't come today. I'll be fine. His dad also, you know, asks about how the meeting went and tells him that he's so proud of him and kind of starts to well up saying, your mom would be proud of you too. And that's really sweet. We love sweet parents. I mean, I think I do. I don't have them, so. So anyway, they get off the phone. It's a nice conversation. It's starting to rain, and he knows that means the roads are going to be hell. He considers, though, calling his friend Reed or Cutter with a K just to have some brewskis and celebrate. But you know what? Rain means ice, and ice is not nice. So he just opts out of that and decides to go home. And he's almost to the turnoff when he sees something on the side of the road. What could it be? Well, it's a woman waving him down, a baby in one arm, a toddler holding the hand of another. They're soaked, freezing, the kids are crying. How did she wave him down if she's got her arms? No, you know what? Let's not think about it. We don't have to think about it. There's something about her that ignites a primal need within me. Already? You just saw her on the side already? I must protect her, save her, she's mine. It's chapter one. I mean, Reed did say, wait till you find the woman. Well, he found her. And now he must protect her. What don't you get? She's mine in a way no one else has ever been before or ever will be again. She's stranded and needs help, and I would do anything to rescue her right now. Okay, then do it. You're talking too much. Shh. So he approaches her. He's like, are you hurt? Do you need help? He's like determined to get her to safety. And then she points out a fireball that was once a car. And she's like, we need help. We just lost everything. And I think it's wild that he saw the woman in the dark, in the rain, on the roadside, but he didn't see the smoke and the fire from the crash she was obviously in. Chapter 2, Juliet. So the babies are named Charlie and Aaron. Charlie is the toddler, Aaron is the bebe. And just me personally, I'm just glad they're not named after significant weather events, you know. And she is actually not their mother. She is the nanny. She's their nanny. And she kind of spills a little bit about the parents. I don't remember their names. I didn't write them down because they didn't seem important. And they're obviously not here. But anyway, she knows these boys better than their parents do because that's her job and they're neglectful, you know, negligent, whatever. And she goes on about that and their failing marriage and they're always arguing. She's a live-in nanny, so she gets all the tea, I'm sure. And then she talks about how the dad had this idea all of a sudden one day that he wanted to take the boys fishing. Now she's thrilled about this idea because she's like, oh, they're finally going to pay attention to their kids and spend time with them. But I'm curious as to why we want to take the toddler. He can, you know, learn to reel. He's got like motor skills and the ability to hold his neck up, you know. But the infant, why would we bring the infant? I understand it's like a family getaway and stuff, but like, I can tell you from personal experience, if you bring a baby with you fishing, you're not going to get any fishing done. So, you know, whatever. Maybe I'm the asshole. But anyway, this idea sounds great to Juliet, especially since she grew up not far from Fox Hollow, which is where they wanted to go fishing. And she spent her whole childhood outside chopping wood. I told you wood would come up. But the trip is happening. Okay, so they're all in the car, this tricked out SUV. They're careening around the roads up in the mountains. The rain starts. The parents start to fight. And then boop, a deer runs out and they crash. When the car finally stops rolling down the hill, careening into this ravine, Juliet opens her eyes to find that miraculously she's still alive and breathing. And so are the boys. Now, the same can't be said for the parents who are dead in the front seat. Yikes. But there's no time to mourn them. Not that I think she would anyway. I'm in the future. I don't think she mourned them anyway. But she needed to get everything out of the car and the boys and whatever she could. And she needs to get as far away from this because she just has this feeling that it's just going to explode. So she does that. She gets everything. She gets the boys. She books it. This is a really horrific way to start things. Like, more horrific than the past ones. Because the past ones were hearsay. Like, I mean, this is technically hearsay too because she's recounting details. But she's literally got smoke in her eyes from the fire of the car crash that's still happening. You know? Like, this is really brutal of a way to start off with your hot honey that you're about to wife up, I'm sure. And the kids that you're about to just become surrogate dad to. It's worse, in my opinion. I don't know. It's just very right in your face. As opposed to Marcy being in the woods and she's on the run and all this other stuff from unseen horrors. And then we have Rainey, who's like celebrating her 21st birthday and just decides she wants a night out with the hot man that offers to buy her a drink. This is like really brutal, you know? Anyway, they're in a ravine, so she has to scale this hill, this muddy, slick hill. And when she finally gets the kids and the cargo roadside, topside, there's nothing. No shops, no cars, no houses, nothing. She is literally stranded with two now orphaned children that she loves and cares for as if they're her own. But it's in that moment where she's starting to feel hopeless that she sees the headlights. It's a truck, a big truck. Wait, it's Juliet. I don't know why she's British to me. It's a truck, a big truck. A man gets out of the cab. I've never seen him before, but in that instant, it feels like my soul knows exactly who he is. Mine. He's more than the person coming to rescue us. He's our guardian angel. Of course he is. And I don't know why she feels British to me, but she does. Maybe it's the nanny thing.
You guys are in a crisis. I'm on my way.
Chapter 3 is Jasper. I love how they both think that they're instantly one another's. That's totally real and definitely happens all the time. And it probably absolutely has nothing to do with the fact that a traumatic event just occurred and maybe she's latching on to the closest thing that she sees as a salvation and some sort of savior. Savior. Who else was a savior? The Lord. His heart hurts for them. Like, he's no family man, okay? But these three have been through hell. Hell. So he directs them back to his truck and he follows because there's not 1 second he's going to spend away from them. He can't. He's supposed to protect them. And he tries to dial emergency services, but there is no cell service in the storm or whatever. He asks if there was anybody else in the car, if anybody was hurt. She kind of spills about everything that just happened. He's like, okay, well, my phone's not working, but my cabin's not far and I have an emergency radio. What do you think about that? And she's like, sounds like the only choice I have, but I don't really know why we're being so begrudging about it because it seems like you're his and he's yours. So just buckle up. Let's go. Yay. Finally, where have you been all my life kind of thing. So they pull in the drive and it's gorgeous, I'm assuming. And she's like, you live alone? And he's like, yeah. And I built it with my own 2 hands. Of course he did. So he is into woodworking, or at least manual labor. I mean, we knew that he's a mechanic, but you know what I mean. So he gets them inside and he starts getting, towels and blankets for them to dry off and warm up and starts a fire. And she is on her feet helping. She is not a wilting flower, this one, no. All the hell she's just been through and she's still there solid as a rock. Solid as a rock for these boys. So he does get someone on the emergency radio and he gives them all the details about who is in the car crash, where it's located, blah, 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 blah. And they're like, okay, well, we're going to send somebody, but it might be a bit because of the weather, Just sit tight. I bet that's the only way Juliet knows how. They hang up and prepare to ride the storm out. Alexa play Riding the Storm Out. They just really hope someone gets there soon. And just as he's asking her if there's anything else that he can do for her, boom, power goes out. He goes to get some flashlights. There's also the fire that's warming and lighting the room, and she's just like really thankful for him in this moment, which I don't really know how we know that because this is supposed to be a Jasper chapter, but I'm not going to go back and check because I'm exhausted. So she's tucking the boys into some makeshift bed/cots on the floor and pallets on the couch and stuff like that. And in that moment, he helps her and she grabs his hand and says, it might sound crazy, but when I saw you, I thought you were our guardian angel. And he feels the tingles in their touch, the electricity, right? And he's like, I'm no angel. She's just really thankful for him in this moment. But she's also really horny. And who wouldn't be? Every time I've been in a car crash, the very next thing I feel is aroused. Sexually, biblically, spiritually. And everybody knows that trauma and tragedy are great foreplay leading you into sex with a stranger. So he kisses her forehead, boop, and she's like, are you tucking me in? And he's like, no, we're in our living room. This guy is about as deep as a puddle. No, we're still... Okay, so he's a jock. His character is coming to life before my eyes. Okay. No, we're like in my living room, and I don't know what you're thinking right now. I'm thinking things that do not match this moment. He's like, I don't think there's a rule book for something like this. She's talking about like the boys and their parents and how they just lost everything and blah, blah, blah. And he asks her if she loves the boys, and she's, yes, I do. The lights flicker out again, and we stand still for a long moment, and then she lifts her face, her mouth finding mine. She kisses me as if there's nothing else we could possibly do. I've got several things on a list that you could do. Spreadsheet, I'll send it over. And in this moment, I realize there isn't. The kiss is inevitable. That's a big word, buddy. Big word for you. Chapter 4 is Juliet. If I tried to explain this to anyone, they wouldn't understand. I was just in a traumatic accident, came out unscathed by some miracle, and I kissed the first man I see. Honestly, I do get that. I kind of do. I think anyone would. That's a lot to deal with, and I personally have made worse decisions, not even on the heels of a tragedy. The kiss deepens. She realizes that in this moment, this is not just a man. This is the man of her dreams, which is a really odd sentiment to be carrying around given what you've just been through, which was an actual nightmare, not to mention the children that you're caring for. It's just a little insensitive to be like, hey, so I know that your parents both died in a fiery crash careening over a ravine when they were set to take you on a trip where y'all could spend some time together. But I found this really hot guy in the woods, and it's like a dream come true. Anyway, this man is sturdy. Solid as a rock. Like the trunks of giant trees, right? And that's what she needs right now, something sturdy to lean on. I bet I know another tree you need. Anyway, she goes to find that tree that I was just winking at you about, and he stops her. He's like, listen, you've just been through a lot. You don't have to do this. And she says, I want to. Let me feel your skin. Let me feel alive. Anyway, he pivots the conversation to the kids and their parents and her employment and their like complicated business personal relationship that she had with everybody, which I honestly, that's where your attention should be. I understand needing to like get one out when you're feeling a lot of big feelings, but you don't know this guy. I shouldn't speak ill of them, but they sucked as parents. And now they're gone. Okay? So anyway, he hugs her and tells her that she's okay now. And she's stressing over everything that's unfolding and things still to come. Like, they just lost everything. What does this mean for me and them? And like, I don't know what's going to happen. He offers to make her some coffee for the long night they have ahead of them. He starts to make it. She sits there watching him and she thinks like, it feels like I've known this man my whole life. He asks if she has any family. She's like, nah, I grew up a town over though, and they're both dead. So that was over quickly. Everything is in this book. I don't know what he says because I didn't note it in my notes, but the next thing they have a conversation about is how she prefers and likes him exactly as he is right now, because if he wasn't exactly who he is, he wouldn't have been out there to find them in their hour of need. You saved us. And he starts to say that they saved him too. I don't know how, but we'll never know because knock knock, the cops are here. Chapter 5 is Jasper. Yay. So the cops have arrived and emergency services as well. They somehow got out there in the rain, whatever. And he doesn't want them to leave, but he knows that they need like medical attention, especially the kids. So while Juliet is talking to the cops, he's feeding one of them a bottle. While she's getting one of them dressed and tying their shoes, he's talking to the cops. I don't know. They're just tag teaming this. It's like they're meant to be a family, and they have been meant to be all along. And all it took was one fatal car crash where two children lose their parents forever to bring them together. Isn't that sweet? So as Juliet is trying to answer the cops' questions, the sheriff, and the sheriff knows Jasper because for crying out loud, they were on the same football team together. They went to high school together. They're bros, right? He keeps asking her more questions, and Juliet is trying to wrangle a child in the midst of this and in the wake of all the stuff that has gone on this night. And so Jasper steps in. He's like, this is enough. You need to back off and like save it until we get to the hospital. He says this as like he's like making a sandwich for one of the kids and a bottle for the other. Like they're literally just really just in sync with each other, So as they start loading into the emergency vehicle or whatever, Jasper tells her that the first thing she needs to do when she gets to the hospital is contact the parents' lawyer. And he's not riding with them, but she really, really wants him to be at the hospital with them. I'll follow right behind you. Stay strong for the boys, and I'll stay strong for you. So he follows them in his car, and he's he's nervous as all hell because what if the sheriff takes his hands off the wheel or his eyes off the road? Does he have any idea the precious cargo he's carrying? Humans. He's got humans in the car. I would hope that he would be mindful of safety since he's the sheriff and all, but ACAB and all that. So they get to the hospital and he helps her unload the kids and get them inside and all this stuff. He double checks with her that she does still want him there. And she's like, you dare not leave. You're our guardian angel. And this is only bolstering my Jesus theory. He kisses her softly. Like, yes, they just met. But when it's right, it's right. And when you know, you know. You know? So he helps get them into the hospital. And as they wheel the three of them back to be examined and stuff, he says, quote, he just lost 3/4 of himself. You don't know these people. The lawyer shows up. Everything in this book happens at lightning speed. So the lawyer shows up to talk to Juliet. He's not there long either. He leaves shortly after having a little conversation. And then Juliet and the boys emerge from the double doors. She's relieved to see that he's still there. He's stuck around. With the help of the nurse, they wheel out towards his truck and she asks him if he will drive them back to their house because she can't stand the idea of a cab. I don't know why. I guess you could, the argument could be made that she doesn't want to get in a car with a stranger because she was just in a crash, but she is still getting in a car with a stranger because she just met this man. But that's logic we can't afford. So he helps her load them into the car and gets them, quote, bucked in. Think it was meant to be buckled? I hope it was. Otherwise, what are you doing to these children to get them in the car? And he's like, where am I going? And so she gives him the address to the mansion that they live in. So he punches in the address and off they go, and they're talking a little bit about like what the lawyer said. Didn't say much. Obviously, he wasn't there for very long, but he did mention that she has temporary guardianship of them and he will be over tomorrow to read the will in full. And she's just really worried about what's going to happen. You know, I bet you $1 million everything works out. She cries. He lets her, supporting her through it. They finally pull up to the mansion, which he says is, quote, the nicest mansion I've ever visited. How many mansions do you visit? But you know what? I wrote that before I put the pieces together, that every single one of these cabins, these isolated cabins in the woods, are not only not very isolated, but they're not cabins. They're more like cabin coated mansion palaces in the woods with patios and dry saunas, you know? They carry the boys inside and she takes them to their shared bedroom, tucks them in, sings them to sleep. Moonlight comes into the window. He watches her. And even though she's heartbroken, she's not breaking. She is solid as a rock. I'm not the guardian angel here. She is. After the boys are asleep, they leave the room and he says, come on, Angel. Now I'm going to tuck you in. She's like, will you sing to me? And God, please, I hope not. No more. We got Here Comes the Sun last time. I don't need any more. Please leave me alone. Chapter 6 is Juliet. It's weird that only a few hours ago this man was a stranger. I'd like to posit that he still is. And now he is here in a room and I want to kiss him so badly. But first, I need a shower. So of course they're going to have a shower. And I would agree that that's an appropriate priority to have. You were just in an abysmal car crash. You're probably covered in fluids. Your hair smells like smoke and ash. You had to climb up the muddy side of a hill/ravine to get to safety. I think a shower would be the most logical next step now that everything is kind of settling down. The can wait is what I'm saying. She doesn't say that she needs a shower out loud. He just understands because that's how connected they are. That's how meant to be they are, okay? He leads her to the bedroom and she starts to undress, saying, I need a shower the same way I need him, with all that I am. And when Jasper turns to look at me, the ache in his eyes tells me he needs the same damn thing. Okay, so he runs his hands all over her, right? And she thinks that this is it. The moment of her life, the minute that she's waited forever to find. And listen, I'm so sorry to have to keep bringing this up. But what? You were just in a car crash where both of your bosses and the parents to the children you claim to love so much died. This is the moment you've been waiting for your whole life? I understand context, okay? I understand that she's talking about this moment with him touching her. I got it. But it came about as the result of a tragedy. So he leads her into the shower and she's like, aren't you going to join me? And he's like, listen, you've been through hell. You've been through a lot, a tragedy, some would say. And I don't want you to do anything tonight that you'll regret tomorrow. To which she says, or thinks, I don't remember if she says it out loud. My body aches for the sweet relief I know he can give me. The kiss from earlier tonight told me everything I needed to know about Jasper's ability to satisfy me. Not how it works. Someone can be a good kisser and a terrible lay. Somebody could be a phenomenal lover and a terrible kisser. A terrible, too much tongue, teeth, everywhere. Okay? Because people are layered. And it doesn't always line up like that. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it's gold stars across the board. We're all excited. Home run. You're great at everything. How'd you get here?
Someone cooked here.
But you can't just go off. They're not mutually exclusive. One is not a good indicator of the other in every circumstance. Stop this. Stop it. She tells him, like, the only regret she'd have is, like, missing out on this. So he strips. Not a lot of convincing needed on his part. And so he takes his clothes off, and she says that his stomach is a ladder of abs that she wants to crawl up. Honestly, hate this. Hate the language. Hate it. But I understand it. He's nude. He joins her in the shower. It's hot. She's hot. He's hot. This is hot, or so I'm told. He asks her if she believes in love at first sight, and she's like, I didn't until today. And he's like stunned that love at first sight seems to be happening right now. They kiss, and she reveals that she's a virgin. And honestly, I'm so glad. I was starting to think that we might not get a virgin in this one, but there she is. I'm loving this theme. And we know from book 2 that Jasper is not a virgin. He was the quintessential high school ladies man. So that's exciting. He has had the so that's different. And I know a couple of people were saying in the last book, they're like, it's kind of refreshing to see that the men are virgins in these books because they're kind of, subverting the stereotype of the women being pure and untouched. I get that. And I think that men can be virgins and there's nothing wrong with that. And you choose when and who you're ready to do all these things with. If that time comes, it might not. However, I'm hesitant to say the same thing about like loving to see it here because I don't think anybody's subverting anything because that would require thought, and it doesn't really seem like a lot of thought went into these. These are just little bite-sized nothing books, And if any thought was put into it, it's the coding it to be Jesus adjacent. Like I would love to read about, a guy who has been saving himself or not participating in encounters for whatever reason. And then he meets someone and she changes his perspective and makes him feel comfortable and safe in a way that he wants to explore that side of him that he never has before. But I don't think that's what we're getting here. Do you? Let me know. Anyway, she says that she's a virgin, and he's shook because he wants to make sure that this is memorable for her. This is a big deal, And she says, Jasper, this night is unforgettable in 100 different ways. If there's any salvaging the pain from this evening, let us take it. There is a lot of unforgettable moments of this night. There's a big one that you seem to have all but forgotten ever since it happened. Ever since this dude walked onto the scene, you have forgotten that you just lived through a trauma. I don't know. Anyway, they kiss again, exploring each other with their hands. He slips on down there, right? And she says, my is awake, truly awake for the first time in my life. You just had an old sleepy one down there? You just had a little sleepy buddy down there the whole time? Is mine awake? Hold on, let me see. Yeah? Oh God, okay. He drops to his knees wanting to taste her. She is like overwhelmed at the new sensations coming at her from all angles. And is this not in poor taste? Pun intended. I mean, I get needing relief and an escape from something that you just survived, that maybe you're lucky to have survived, and it's a lot, and there's big feelings crumbling down on you, a lot of weight on those shoulders, but you are first of all, you let a strange man come back with you to your house where you live in Nanny, and it is a mansion, which means that these people are not poor, and you let him around these vulnerable children who don't even know, maybe, like they don't even understand it, but I know the infant can't, but the toddler might not even realize that he just lost both of his parents and that he survived death and all this other stuff. And you let this strange man into their home. And not only did you let him into the home, now you're banging him in their shower. Like, it's not their shower, it's in her room, it's her ensuite, whatever, but it's in their house. They're not even cold yet. They're definitely not cold yet, especially considering the fact that they were like broiled. And that is a terrible joke, ill-timed, and I am sorry for it. But you know what? My joke is the least offensive thing going on right now because she's literally rounding third base with a stranger in the dead people's home. She arrives, quote, deep, comma, wildly, which is not correct. She's dreading tomorrow and all the changes that could potentially come. But right now, she's only worried about one type of cum, theirs. They wash each other gently. He says he wants her, and she's like, well, let's clean up and make it happen. They have tonight. No one can take that from them. I wish I could. I wish that I could just tell you that if all of these feelings are super real, like you're telling me they are, they'll be here in a few months once you get everybody settled and you properly vet this man and make sure that he's not going to just, I don't know, kill you and take a bunch of silver from the house. Chapter 7 is Jasper. They are drying off. She talks more about how negligent the boy's parents were. And this is, again, just, they're dead. Juliet, my God, they just died maybe 10 hours ago. And now you're still going on and on about how negligent these people were to their children. Well, now they're really negligent because they're dead. You win, I guess. Anyway, she goes on about how if she has a family, she would never want to be like that with her own family. He's like, yeah, me neither. And she's like, you want a family? And he's like, never thought about it until now. Sure. Okay, yeah. All right. Okay, yeah. Sure. He tastes her again. She arrives again. And he says, her tits are gorgeous, round and full, made for a man's hand. Made for a man's hand. Okay, what if she's bi? Happy Pride, everybody. Love the language, though. Man's hands, made for a man's hands. Is that why her was awake for the first time? Was it also made for a man's hand / mouth / Her hands run through my hair as I tease her nipples, but my rod is still aching to be touched. As if reading my mind, Juliet repeats my name. Jasper. She moans, I need you in me. She is ready for him. So he says her, quote, sweet virgin hole is so slick, so ready. They make love, fingers entwining, fighting off thoughts of the unknown future that tomorrow might bring, but not fighting off those orgasms. We just let those roll on in. It's just a lot, His is a throbbing rod as they orgasm together or something. I don't know. Maybe. I don't remember. And, this doesn't have to end tonight. Did you know that? It doesn't have to. He pulls her into his arms where she belongs. They bang it out a couple more times before the night is over. Of course they do. I would just go to sleep. We're both asleep. Do not disturb. So they wake up the next morning, sun shines into the room. She needs another shower. I bet you do. Yeah, I bet you do. And he is just so afraid of losing these special people that he met less than a day ago. Chapter 8, Juliet. The morning has arrived and she is filled with dread. She makes coffee and finds him making his world famous pancakes for Charlie, who is just eating this up, metaphorically and literally. And so is she. She's just delighted. And I honestly, I'm going to say two things. One, I would really kill for some pancakes right now. So it's rude for us to be talking about this. I might just have to make some after we're done. Two, this is the first book where there's been a child or a baby that is old enough to kind of understand and interact with this strange man that shows up on the scene out of nowhere. Because one of the babies was literally brand new, and the second book had a baby that was biologically his. All of these books are just full of nonsense. It's like a chaotic timeline that would never actually happen. And if it did, it would need to be evaluated by a mental health professional because there's some trauma bonding going on here and it might not be real and we don't know these people. Just bad decision making all around, but you're limited to the decisions that you make. I get it, blah, blah, blah. But this one, for some reason, it just really doesn't sit right with me because this is her job. Her job is to care for these children. And now there's a strange man cooking them food in their kitchen. How is bringing home a strange mountain man that you do not know and banging him in the dead parents' house and then letting him cook them breakfast the next morning not some sort of a violation, conflict of interest? He's little still, but he's old enough to speak, so he can notice, where are my parents? Who is this man? Where am I? Who are you? So, and he was just traumatized. He doesn't know it yet because he's a little bitty, but he was. And usually those memories that latch on during trauma, like, they're pretty relentless. And now there's a strange, I just don't like it. You know, I just don't really like it. I don't think it's a responsible choice. I understand that she's been through a lot, but so have the kids, and that's her job. Her job is to care for the kids. She can care for her and her sleepy ass shit later. So the lawyer's going to be there in an hour, and she's, worried. That's the whole thing of this, is like sex and worry. That's the theme of the book. And so right now we're on worry, and she's worried about what's going to happen to the boys. They don't have any family nearby anyway, and so they're probably going in the foster system, which really makes her uncomfortable to think about. She starts crying, so Charlie starts crying, and Jasper holds them both. And this is what I'm talking about. He's not old enough to have the language to talk about what's going on, but he sees her upset, and he's upset. So this is affecting him too. What is this guy doing here? So anyway, while he's holding them, she's like, don't you need to get home? I don't even know what you do. I don't even know who you are. You probably have things that you need to do. I don't know anything about you. And he busts in with, except that I love you. Is this the fastest that's been uttered so far in this series? It's been like a day. He's like, I love you. Also, I own 2 mechanic shops in Fox Hollow. Whew. Okay, so the lawyer arrives, and Jasper goes to the store to get some essentials and stuff to give them some time alone. Even though it's a mansion, it's fully stocked. They don't need anything. But he had a couple of things that he needed to do anyway, some errands to run. I wonder what they could be. She is all nerves and on the verge of tears. She wants to cry so badly. The lawyer is with her now, but he stops her, and there's no need to cry because I have great news. Not only do you get custody of the boys, but you get the full estate. They left everything to you. And she's shocked, and so am I, because she was under the impression that they hated her, which I don't think that if they hated you, they would have you on their payroll. But needless to say, she didn't think that they thought too highly of her. And that's when the lawyer is like, well, there was resentment on the mom's side because you were everything she wasn't. You were warm and patient and domestic and kind, and she was like a bitch. I swear to God, they're dead. Why this? Oh God, put these people in the same creek that Sabrina was floated down from the wild. These people will never know peace. They literally died, and people won't shut up. Anyway, the mom resented her for that, and she also resented her because she knew that the dad had named her the beneficiary in the will. So there's just a lot of resentment, and that's what was coming forward. It's just really strange, Okay, so chapter 9. I'm not doing well. Chapter 9 is Jasper. So as it turns out, like I said, he didn't need to go get anything because the house is stocked. But he did need to go on an essential errand. Do you have a guess as to what it might be? He gets back to the mansion, and Charlie and Juliet rush out and jump on him, and oh my God, and he thinks to himself how he could have fallen for this trip so fast. And it took me longer than I care to admit for me to realize that they meant trio. How long did it take? How could I have fallen for this trio so fast? Anyway, before he lets her tell him what the lawyer said, he drops down to one knee, and I can't take this. One day. He's on one knee after one day. Whoa! I know this is fast. Some might say it's crazy, but I saw you on the side of the road, and I knew in my heart. No, I knew in my soul. You were mine. And I know these boys are your heartbeat, baby. And you can't lose them, and neither can I. So marry me. Be my wife. Let me take care of you now and for always. It's just so ridiculous. She says yes. He puts the ring on her. She spills about the lawyer and the good news and how all of this is hers now, including the kids. Oh my God, a ready-made family. He didn't even have to do anything. They kiss. They hug. They're going to be a family. That's great. Epilogue. Juliet, 5 years later. How many kids? Okay. How many kids do we think they have? Do we think they have any? Are these two going to be enough? Or do they need their own children? You know how people are like this, like these kinds of people where they're like, oh, well, I adopted one, but I really wanted one of my own. They should all be yours. They're all yours. That's a weird thing to say there, bud. But so anyway, off track. How many kids do we think they have? Lock in your answers now, folks. For me, that's a lot of years. 5 years, and multiple births are a thing. So, I'm going to guess 4, plus Charlie and Aaron, so 6 total. Like they had like 2 sets of twins or something. He comes up behind her, gives her a glass of wine, asks her what she's thinking about. So she can't be pregnant if she's drinking the wine, right? Right? Okay. All right. What are we doing? Turns out what she's thinking is just how lucky she was to meet him. How grateful she is for the man and the father that he is. And how great it is to have all this land so their 3 boys, Charlie, Aaron, and Jack, can roam about. Oh, so just one. Color me disappointed. I feel like if we were a little bit more energetic, a little more passionate, a little more determined, we could have had those 4 plus 2 equals 6 children. So yeah, blah. He wrangles the kids, gets them, ready for bed, tucked in and everything. He goes into his room to find her naked in bed waiting for him. I wonder if her is awake. You think? No, you know what? That's not the question. The question isn't, is it awake? The question is, has it slept since he moved in? They have a quick 69 session. That's fun. We're mixing it up. And then he requests that she turn around because he wants to arrive in her. So she does. I let my mountain man do as he pleases, knowing it pleases me too. I straddle him as he massages my breasts, my mouth meeting his, our kisses sending shockwaves of pleasure over my skin. God, I love this man. We move as one, our bodies in sync, and when we come, our souls are one. Ew, 1 star. So, 1 star. I also wanted to bring your attention back to the cover. Now, I understand that at a certain age, there's no femininity in this baby's face. There's no masculine energy radiating off of this baby, right? But I do want to zoom in real quick and let you see the top of the bottle. And it's pink, which is typically a color you see on or around baby girls. And so I want to know why that's there when they only have sons. 3 sons. Charlie, Aaron, Jack. 3 boys. This, coupled with the incredibly inaccurate synopsis from the last book, is just like, I'm sorry, I short-circuited. What care and attention to detail was put forth at all? Which is another reason why I'm not sitting here being like, oh, cool, it's a pink bottle for the boy babies. They're rejecting gender norms. No, they're not. They made a mistake. There's been several mistakes. Bucked in, fall for this trip/trio is what they meant. This cover, the synopsis at the last book that was absolutely inaccurate to the plot. Not what happened in the book at all. And I know that these are just silly, goofy little times, but does something that's silly have to also be stupid? Can't we just have a silly, goofy time with intention? I am glad that this man has a shirt on and the baby is covered with a towel. That is nice. And what was the synopsis? Let me go back and check. A blue-eyed beauty lost and alone, 2 young children in her arms. I'm a mountain man who's always lived alone. When I see a tragic accident on the highway, I have a chance to change things, but not everybody agrees that my cabin should be their home. That never came up. I don't know. Who's everybody? Who's everybody that is against your love and you being a family? Not one person, not one other person showed up on the scene to discourage you from doing this. I wish somebody would have, because that would have been a little bit more realistic, but nobody showed up. It's time to man up and be what they need, because they are my heart. They are my soul. They belong on this mountain. Okay, so it's not nearly as egregious of a mistake as the last synopsis compared to the book that it went with. It's like 90% correct. But I think a key part of the plot would have been that it seemed like there were a lot of people against them being together because of that sentence. Not everyone agrees that my cabin should be their home. Who? Tell me. Show me. Point them out. It just seems like a lack of oversight, a lack of checking and going back over your work and making sure that everything lines up. And to be honest, I know that it is quite a task to outline and structure and create a book just in general, making sure that you don't say something that conflicts with something you said earlier, and making sure that their tone conveys their character and it's accurate to who they are and who you've made them out to be and all this other stuff. There's so much that goes into telling a good story and building it from the ground up and making sure that it all makes sense. And I understand that, but this is a 45-page book, and I feel like there should have been no mistakes. 40 pages? My script for Hunting Adeline was longer than that. And that video, dare I say, damn near perfect. Way to go, me. There's just, there's not a lot of wiggle room for me to be like, oh, well, mistakes happen. Not in 40 pages, they shouldn't. But who cares? Only me, it seems. It's always only me. But anyway, 1 star. I don't like any of these books. There's only one left. Will she do it? Will she complete another series on this channel? She darn well might. My is awake My mind is alive and I'm ready to continue our trek through the mountains. So stick around. If you liked this video, make sure to actually like it. Share it with a friend if you think they'd like it. Please, if you have a second and want to support me and everything I do on this channel, please go by my bindery page. It's boneyardpicnic.binderybooks.com. It's linked below. There's like exclusive live events. There's bonus content, early access to rant reviews that are also uncensored and ad-free, which it just helps to aid in the whole viewing experience, because I've noticed with the changes that YouTube implemented recently about like how they place their ads throughout my videos, sometimes the ads pop up and ruin a joke or right in the middle of a punchline for me. And you know, honestly, that's annoying. There's not much I can do about it. And I have just decided that this is one of the things I can't control, so I've let it go. But if it's something that you're getting annoyed with and you have a couple extra bucks a month to spare, you can sign up on my bindery and you'll get early access to those rants, and there won't be any ads at all. Support me, support the work I do, support the channel, and also just get some fun perks for yourself. I also recently had to move my Discord behind a paywall due to some safety issues that I'm going through in my personal life. I don't want to get into it too much, but yeah, I just wanted to let you know. I love you. You don't have to say it back. I will see you in the next one, the final installment of the Men of Fox Hollow series.